Good evening, everyone. I apologize for being a little late. It is now 6:41 p.m. on August 13th, Thursday night, 2020. We're starting the regular session of the school committee meeting at 6:42. I would like to state that those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded by ASRSD. And any audience members who wish to record part of the meeting must inform the chair, who will announce the recording, and this is to comply with the Massachusetts wiretap statute. The listings of matter are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion as to the extent permitted by law. The agenda tonight is changing the public participation until after the superintendent's presentation, and every person will have a 2-minute limit, and when you start you need to state your name and address for the record. This is the same as a public town meeting where that would be done. We will have a clock on the screen to show the 2 minutes. And if anyone doesn't mind, I will try to note when you have 15 seconds left. Okay. Since we probably will not have people speaking more than once, so it would be good if you could make your point and then allow someone else to make theirs. So that will be how the agenda will be handled tonight in this Zoom setup. If the committee do we need to do a roll call for the committee return? Yes, no? I don't know that we do, but we certainly could do a roll call to open the meeting, which we would normally. We did the Pledge of Allegiance already. Okay, Michelle Town, would you please do a roll call vote for the committee?
Mr. DeForge?
Here.
Mrs. Granger?
Here.
Mr. Leone?
So he's in the chat saying here. I'm just kind of concerned that he can't speak. Do we know what's going on with him?
We're working on it. We're kind of
Okay.
chatting back and forth.
Okay.
Mr. Quinty? I see him.
Yeah, he just needs to unmute himself.
Okay. Mrs. Thumbs up.
I don't know. We'll just accept that.
There
Jim.
you go. Now say here, Jim. Say here.
Mr. Quinty.
Present.
Sorry. Mrs. Reshoots?
Here.
Mrs. Simmons?
Not a touch screen.
Unmute yourself, Cheryl.
Sorry, I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So Dr. Malone has prepared a presentation overview and a recommendation for a school reopening model. Mary, we would be pleased to honor that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to all of our participants this evening and viewers. Nice to see so many. I think we have about 313 participants. So, Mr. Tebow, could you please start the PowerPoint presentation? First, I want to speak to the members. There is a blueprint to the reopening for schools, and it's about 75 pages in length, and it's very detailed about all of the aspects of opening schools, from health protocols to transportation, student support, many details in the report. And it will be released to the public after the school committee votes on a plan for opening schools. This presentation tonight is focused on the recommended plan to open schools for the 2021 school year. And that's what I will be addressing in the PowerPoint presentation. But before I begin the presentation, I would like to read some excerpts from the message that is within the blueprint. There are no right words to describe how grueling, stressful, and challenging it has been to manage public education during a pandemic. We all want to make sure we open our schools with the best plan that keeps our students and staff safe and healthy and brings our students in person, even if for a short time, to start out the school year. Throughout the planning process this summer, we have grappled with many issues based on concerns and feedback from our families and educators. And then there is the concern by all of the unmet needs posed by full remote learning, captured in these succinct terms: loss of learning, social and emotional impact, reduced detection of child abuse, nutritional insecurity, loss of parental employment, and lack of access to essential services. All feedbacks and concerns have been taken into consideration, and while the best model for return to school is full in person, this model is not viable at this time. In light of all of these factors and concerns, a phased approach to the opening of schools meets the concerns and needs of our stakeholders. While I understand this model will not be the choice for some in the district, this model does provide students with in-person contact for a minimum of 2 half-days per week. I also understand that given the health and safety mandates, the educational experience is going to be different, but keeping students in a full remote model continues to widen the gaps of the unmet needs of all students, and in particular our high needs English learners and economically disadvantaged students. It is critical to continue to monitor the health metrics, reports, and data from scientists, health experts, the CDC, and our local Neshoba Associated Boards of Health. The Return to School Advisory Board has developed excellent plans in each of the 3 models, and we are well prepared to pivot to fully remote, or in the best case scenario, a full return to school. I want to express my sincere appreciation to the parents, guardians, students, teachers, and all employees for your patience and support. Difficult and very hard. We all want to be back in person, as we all know the negative long-term impact the closure has had already on students, from lack of social emotional support to learning loss, lack of food security, and frankly, neglect that goes unreported for so many students. Let us unite and together take care of every student in the district to the best of our ability. They are depending on us to be united without conflict and tension, so they feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally. Thank you for listening. Mike, could you start to go to the next slide, please? So there's been some recent publications and announcements from the governor, and I wanted to point out that with some of his new orders for social gatherings, that there are legal exceptions, and public and private elementary and secondary K-12 schools are one of the exceptions to his new legal order. Next slide, please. This is a slide that has recently been released by the governor, and this slide is which U.S. states meet recommended positivity levels. Positivity levels meaning the number of COVID cases that get reported. 37 states have higher than recommended positivity, which if you look, there's a 5% threshold here. So that is the threshold. Anything above at 5 or above 5% is considered to be high positivity rate. And you can see Massachusetts, there's a little arrow. So we are one of the states that are below higher than recommended positivity rates. And this was the source from Johns Hopkins University. Next slide, please. The other document that was released just a few days ago was this new color-coded metric from the COVID Command Center. And it's aligned to the expectation for the learning model for opening schools. If you are in the red zone, meaning you have an average daily cases per 100,000 is greater than 8, then you should be in remote. If you're in the yellow zone, which is the average daily cases per 100,000 is between 4 and 8, there would be hybrid. You should be in a hybrid model or remote if extenuating circumstances. The unshaded, the white, fewer than 5 total cases over the past 14 days. Generally, this is for communities with small populations and very few cases, which is the context of Aaron Shirley. The expectation from the Department of Education is to open full-time in person or hybrid if extenuating circumstances. And this is measured as a 14-day rolling average. Next slide, please. And this is a visual of the balanced view of risk. The decisions around the return to school must reflect a global view of risk. We must balance the risks of COVID-19 infection with in-school learning with other significant risks to the overall health and well-being of our kids when they are out of school. So this is a visual, again, talking about loss of learning, that they're already going to return in the fall due to lack of in-person education with up to 30% less reading, learning. The social emotional impact, 29% of parents said their child's emotional and mental health were suffering. Reduced detection of child abuse. Teachers serve as mandatory reporters of child abuse and neglect. The national insecurity of providing food. Students rely on breakfast and lunch while they're in school. The loss of parental employment, parents not being able to work when their students aren't in school to provide childcare, and then lack of essential services. Children have a diagnosed speech impairment. Approximately 1 in 54 children have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. These children and others that require specialized supports may have missed speech therapy and critical development services previously received at school. Next slide, please. So the Department of Education, when school closed in June, Department of Education issued guidance, and the guidance was that each district and school needs to plan for 3 possibilities on the continuum of reopening. So if you're looking at the visual here, return without restrictions, student return in person, and restrictions are lifted. And then in-person learning with new safety requirements. Students learn in person with new safety requirements, and the goal that superintendents were charged with was to get as many students as possible back into schools for in-person learning safely. And I will tell you that the work this summer has been working with our classrooms and the administrators and measuring and ordering and you know, as I said earlier in my letter, that in-person is not a viable option for us at this time. Hybrid learning, students learn both in person and remote. And the guidance here is that districts that are unable to bring all students back despite best efforts or in case of COVID-19 circumstances. And then the last model is the remote learning. And that would be if we couldn't go back to school and it's available for individual students who cannot yet return in person for all students in the event of future closures. Next slide, please. So the reopening plan for schools that's being recommended this evening has 3 phases. The first phase, which is what was sent out to families and educators this past week, is a slow phased approach to returning students to school. Students will attend school for 2 a.m. half days in small groups of approximately 10 to 11 students, and the remaining time in the schedule will be remote learning. Then phase 2 of this would be to transition to 2 full days of in-person learning and 3 days of remote learning. And I'll explain more when I show you the schedules. And then phase 3 would be full in-person return to school, of course, when the conditions on the ground dictate that. All families have a full remote option that will be delivered by the school district should they not want their children to return to school in any physical capacity. And I would just like to note that there are many questions and comments that have been posed to the discussion board, and we're trying to get through those. And so there was a lot of discussion about the learning management system. And with this proposed plan for reopening schools, the learning management system will not be the selection that families who choose full remote will have to be learning on. We will be able to provide remote learning within the district. Next slide, please. And so the preferred hybrid model, we worked through the RSAB board, and when we looked at a hybrid model that would work for the school system was the 2-day in-person and the 3-day remote. And we had this cohorted, if you will. Cohort is a group of pre to K through 12 students, and that group would be in person for 2 days, on Monday and Tuesday, and then remote Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then cohort B would be in person on Thursday and Friday, and Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday would be their remote days. Wednesday would be a remote a day for all in the district. And we started getting a lot of feedback on this model because there were three glaring issues for me as a superintendent and my team that we heard repeatedly, which one was particularly from educators and parents, that with this model, yes, you've reduced the number of students, the total students in the building, but you have not reduced the density in the classrooms. So if a kindergarten classroom, and I'm going to be using kindergarten as an example as we move through this presentation, because I think it's easier to understand. So in a kindergarten class, if you have 20 students, and on those 2 in-person days, all 20 students would be in your classroom. I've reported in prior presentations to the school committee that we did conduct a feasibility study, which we were directed to do by the Department of Secondary and Elementary Education. And the principals and the facilities department, they worked tirelessly to try to reach the 6 feet. So the guidance that was given was a minimum of 3 feet to 6 feet, and people had a lot of trouble with why we weren't trying to get to the maximum of 6 feet. So that was an issue. The number of students in the classroom at one time, that was very concerning to people. They felt that the density was too large. And third issue that I heard, mostly from the educators, is that they were very concerned that students who would opt for the remote learning, or families who would opt for the remote learning plan, would be put onto a learning management system that is an external learning system to the district, and that the students wouldn't be taught by the teachers within the district. So, this plan was put out, and I will tell you, last about Wednesday, Thursday, in consultation with Mr. Cleary, the assistant superintendent. I said, this is a barrier and a concern, and I understand, and either we need to figure out a different plan that addresses those 3 issues, or perhaps it might be difficult. So for the last 5 days, Mr. Cleary and I spent, all of our days and nights developing this model that's being presented to you this evening that addresses those 3 issues: the density in the classrooms, the 6-foot distancing, and teaching our students in a remote platform by our teachers within the district. Next slide, please. So this was sent out this week, and I explained why it went out this week, because it was worked on within the last week, and it was really a challenging schedule to figure out. And so this is the district hybrid schedule, and this is phase 1. I discussed earlier that there would be a phased approach to students returning to school, and this is phase 1. So if you look over here, we have 2 cohorts in the district. We have a Panther cohort and we have a Pride cohort. So that's a group of students that will be within these cohorts, and this is how they will be in each school, how they will be grouped, and how they will attend school. Now, one of the things, another issue, I'm remiss in not saying this, another issue was siblings, and siblings being on the same schedule. And I can tell you that we have managed to cohort students, to group students either in the Panther or Pride cohort by siblings from pre-K all the way through 12th grade. And that's a big advantage in this plan. So we're going to look at Monday. And on Monday, Panther cohort has a learning plan and the Pride cohort has a learning plan. The Panther cohort, so I'm going to go back to the kindergarten classroom that I used. We have 20 students in the kindergarten classroom, and so 10 of those students are in the Panther cohort. So those 10 students will attend school on Monday morning, and they will be in school for half a day. The half a day schedule that we currently have and had in the district will be adhered to for the elementary schools and then the middle and the high school. So those students would come in for a half day, and they would have in-person direct instruction from their teacher. Then those students would take a bag lunch home, and they would be bused home, and there would be time for a break and some lunch. And then at a prescribed time, those students that would go into what we call the remote learning asynchronous. Now, asynchronous means that a student is in a remote section where they might do some independent work. where they might watch some kind of video. But in our remote learning asynchronous plan, we're going to be able to provide a unified arts class. We could provide some support from our counselors or psychologists. So this segment in the afternoon, and for those students that are in the morning, will not be complete asynchronous. There will be some synchronous interaction with those students, meaning live interaction from school personnel. So that's what the Panther cohort will do on Monday. On the Pride cohort, which is the other cohort of students, the other group of students, in the morning, they will be in this remote learning asynchronous, asynchronous model. They will have a UA, unified arts class, or they could have an intervention class, what I just described for the remote learning group in the afternoon of the Panther cohort. And then in the afternoon on Monday, their teachers, so the teacher of these 10 students that were in person on Monday will now log on with these students, the other 10 students in the kindergarten class, and provide some synchronous learning around maybe ELA and mathematics. Then on Tuesday, the same, the Panther cohort, those 10 kids that came in on Monday morning will now be in the remote portion of the day in the morning, and they will be in this remote learning where they'll have asynchronous and synchronous learning. And then in the afternoon, they'll go home, travel home for lunch with a bag lunch, and then they would have a remote learning where their teacher would be in direct interaction with those students in ELA or mathematics class. And then the 10 students that didn't come in person on Monday will now be in person with the kindergarten teacher. And that those students will have in-person learning, and then they'll travel home, have their lunch, and then they will go on to the asynchronous model that was their counterparts were on in the morning. Then Wednesday, all students will be in a remote model. Then on Thursday, the group that came in on Monday is the group that follows the same schedule on Thursday. So the Panther cohort and the Pride cohort that will mirror the schedule on Monday, their schedule will be on Thursday. And then the group, the Tuesday schedule mirrors the Friday schedule. So what is really nice about this is that the students have in-person instruction from their teachers at the beginning of the week, and then they also have it at the end of the week. So I'll stop for a second just to let people process a little bit. Okay, next slide, please. So now we're going to show you some slides of what a schedule will look like, hybrid schedule. So this is the high school schedule. Maybe you could scroll it up a little, Mike, so I can see the bottom. No, yeah, I guess, okay. So this would be a schedule for the high school. No, could you go back to the high school, please? Sorry. Yeah, this would be a remote schedule, a day schedule for the high school. So you can see the Panther group that would be in school in the morning at the high school, and the classes that they would have. That the high school has a block schedule. So this would be their classes. Now, this obviously isn't a specific schedule. These specific schedules will be developed by the principals and communicated to the parents. This is a model for what would happen, and then those students would be in that asynchronous group in the afternoon, and then the Pride group. So the model is the same throughout for all of the schools. Panther, Pride, Panther in person on Monday morning, Pride is in an asynchronous session, and then in the afternoon, they have live remote classes with their teachers. So you can see for the high school, it would be by periods in the afternoon for the synchronous section, and then in the morning, it follows their schedule. And then this is their remote schedule. The remote schedule has already been developed, approved by the high school and the members of the teaching learning team on the Return to School Advisory Board. And then again, it repeats on Thursday and Friday. So the Monday schedule is the Thursday schedule, and the Tuesday schedule is the Friday schedule. They both repeat, and Wednesday is a remote learning day. Next slide, please. This is the middle school. This is the middle school schedule, and their schedule is similar to the high school and would be divided by the periods. And you can see, the morning time. There'll be a morning meeting in the in-person days. There will be a morning meeting and some social emotional support and other kind of group activities with the students. And then you can see that the subject areas haven't been defined here because the middle school will develop this schedule, but they follow a period schedule, remote in the afternoon, and then it repeats. And then we have a remote period schedule for Wednesday. So the remote schedules this year, if you recall in March, we didn't really follow a day schedule. It was about a 3.5 day, but the remote schedules this year will follow more of an in-person regular day. Next slide, please. This is the elementary schedule for Laura White and Page Hilltop. Again, it's the same model throughout. In the morning, they'll have a morning meeting. They'll have literacy and math. They'll have a travel time and lunchtime, and then in the afternoon for that remote, they may have science and social studies or a block intervention group, a small group support, or UA, art, music, phys ed class. And then you can see the Pride cohort on Monday. We'll have that same model in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the teachers of that class, let's go back to the kindergarten class, will have a live remote session with those 10 students in kindergarten. So it repeats the same structure throughout the district. Next slide, please. So the pros and cons of hybrid schedule number 6, which is what I just described to you. Some of the pros is asynchronous segment of schedule is minimal. We heard from parents and students even in the feedback and the many surveys. And again, thank you to all of you who filled out the surveys. I know you probably said, another survey to fill out, but it's the way we can gain valuable information, and that you preferred more synchronous and more live, direct remote learning for your students. Students will interact with their teachers every day, because whether they're in person in the morning or they're in a remote live session in the afternoon or they're remote on Wednesday, they will be with their teachers every day. Siblings will be on the same schedule. So I'll use the Laura White, for example. If you have a student in kindergarten and you have a student who's going into 4th grade, that kindergarten and 4th grade are going to be in the same schedule. So those students would be in the Panther cohort. So no matter which grade, they will follow the same schedule. And I have to say, that was, the principals and Mr. Cleary, they all worked really hard to create groups of siblings. The reduced densities in the classroom. So like in 4th grade, 5th grade, we might have a class of 22. So instead of a 1 to 22 ratio, it'll be a 1 to 11 ratio for teaching. We will achieve the 6 feet or more distancing in every classroom. Teachers meet face-to-face with students at the beginning and end of each week. So on Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday. The curriculum and instruction are consistent. So on a Monday, you have a kindergarten class of 20, 10 are in person on Monday, and then the other 10 are in person on Tuesday. And then, so the teacher plans a lesson, the same lesson is delivered as you would if you had the whole class in front of you. And then on Wednesday, when the whole class comes together, the teacher has, it's a seamless transition for teaching and learning. And the other piece is, there was a lot of concern about starting out with a full day and students being able to persevere through the day with wearing a mask. So this is a slow phased in start where they will be in school for about 3.5 hours. All students will be required to wear masks. You'll see this in the blueprint, but we know that it was recommended or strongly encouraged for K-1. But we did hear from our educators, and we have made the decision that we want our kindergartners and 1st graders wearing masks. So in that 3.5 hour time, there certainly will be mask breaks and such within that time. What are the deficits of the model? Students are not returning full time. Students do not have 2 consecutive days of instruction. And we originally had that model, but we struggled with being able to transition to phase 2, which would be full day, without disrupting schedules and codes and such. So that's why we had to, and I know I've heard from a couple of people that liked that model, but in order to, if the conditions on the ground warrant us to extend this model to full days on those Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, it would be a seamless transition. There would be, the only difference would be that your child would not be coming home at a half day, that your child would be staying in school for the full day. There is, more remote learning time, and there are childcare challenges on the half days. And we know that, the challenges with childcare, we hear you, we empathize you. One of the things that has been written in the plan is we have two childcare programs. So at the page Hilltop, we have the ear childcare program, and I've talked to the director, Mrs. Russell. So once we know a plan, we're sure what the return to school plan is going to be. We're going to look at, if she could open up some seats, we'll have some rooms, and would like to prioritize, some of those seats for our educators who have children. And then in the Laura White, we have the extended day program, and that program is childcare before and after school. And I've also been in discussions with Mrs. Knoll, and we're going to look at that perhaps she could open that program up to be during the day to provide child care. So I want you to know that we're thinking about it and that we're working on it, and we understand the challenges. But, I guess I could say that when I think about education and I think about the impact the pandemic has, education, the landscape of education is going to change. And one of the things that we've discovered that I feel is a positive is that there are different models of teaching and learning that can be presented to students that students might prefer. There are students who like the remote model. The family dynamic is going to change. More time at home with children. Several students in the survey wrote, "I love being home with my family." And so the world has changed. I think I'm not a historian, but this is a new era, and this is a new world for us. And I don't think we're going to see education back to, somebody commented to me, the Horace Mann model, because we have found there are other models that we can offer and be innovative and creative in our school system and meet the many needs of different students. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to show you the sample remote day schedule on Wednesday. So we have a schedule. The left is the high school schedule and the right is the middle school schedule. So again, you can see there are periods, and the letters symbolize a course or a subject area. And so the middle school and the high school are pretty much on the same start and end time, and those times have not changed. So I guess we want to assure our families that our remote learning is going to be more robust, and it's going to be more of a full day of learning rather than a 3.5-hour day. I just saw a question in the chat, and I want to address it about cleaning. So we have the cleaning plan is in the blueprint. As I said, it's about 75 pages. It's pretty dense. And so on those half days, when students go home, there will be deep cleaning daily. The custodial department, under the direction of Mr. Robert Briggs, has a system of cleaning and disinfecting. We have these misting machines, and the system has already been set up, and they've already, have been adhering to a systematic schedule of cleaning and disinfecting. So each half day, the buildings will be cleaned and disinfected, and then of course on remote Wednesday, they will be cleaned as well. Next slide, please. This would be a sample remote schedule for Wednesday for the elementary schools. So as I said, it starts out with a morning meeting. We might have some social emotional learning. We have a program called Second Step that delivers social emotional skill building. Our school counselors would be checking in, of course, our Pledge of Allegiance, and then you could see they might have ELA. Now, this is just a sample. As I said, the individual schools led by the principals and their administrative team would be developing these schedules, and that schedule will be so communicated to you from those building principals as well as the cohort that your child is in. Next slide, please. Just a couple of pictures. This is Laura White, submitted by Mrs. Lewis, with desks 6 feet apart. And in this classroom, we set the classrooms up for the enrollment size, so there's more desks in here than there would be students. So there's plenty. The physical distancing will exceed 6 feet in many of the classrooms. Thank you, Mrs. Lewis, for sharing this. Next slide. This is a high school classroom with a desk 6 feet apart, submitted by Mr. Christie. Thank you, Mr. Christie. And just hot off the press today, next slide, is a picture sent from Mrs. Lewis. So I think I've said in presentations that we're purchasing canopies and tents for outdoor classrooms. Of course, this time of year is, if we don't have extreme hot weather, but the weather tends to get really nice and mild, and going outside and, not being in the hot sun and setting up classrooms. So that's Mrs. Lewis set that up today. So thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Next slide, please. So tonight I am recommending to the school committee that we open schools on this hybrid model that's being presented to you this evening. This is again a district view of the model, where the Panther cohort, we have 2 cohorts, 2 groups of students, all created to cohort siblings. Again, you have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. In person for the Panther cohort on Monday, asynchronous in the afternoon. The Pride cohort has the asynchronous and synchronous session in the morning, and then a remote learning synchronous session with their teacher in the afternoon. And then Tuesday, it reverses, so that the Panther cohort is in the asynchronous in the morning, and then they have synchronous learning from their teacher in the afternoon, and then the Pride cohort would be in with their teacher in the morning, and then they would have remote learning in the afternoon, and then Wednesday, remote learning for all, and then it repeats on Thursday. So the schedule for Monday is the schedule for Thursday, and the schedule for Tuesday is the schedule for Friday, and then of course Wednesday is the remote learning day. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention tonight. I just want to bring to parents' attention that we have scheduled a meeting for all parents on Monday, August 17th at 6:30 p.m. And this will be you'll have the blueprint, and the school committee will vote on a plan this evening, and we'll further provide you clarification and information at that Monday night meeting. And I'd like to close with a video. Special thank you to Dr. Michelle Dermer and our star student Scarlett, and Mrs. Savoy, a school counselor at Page Hilltop, and Tara Bozak, who's the director of special education. The video is about 2.5 minutes, and the title is Reinventing the School Day. Mike, could you please play the video?
Hi, everyone. This is Tara Bozak, the Director of Special Education for the Air Shirley Regional School District. I hope you're all having a nice summer and you've been able to find some restful and peaceful moments this summer with your family and your friends. I am joined today by Mrs. Rachel Savoy, one of the school counselors for our school district. She worked this summer during our extended school year program, so she's going to talk to you about some of the things that we saw and did differently that we weren't used to before.
Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Savoy. I wanted to talk to you about what it was like during extended school year. You're going to notice a few differences in our school during drop-off and pickup, walking in the hallways. We're going to always make sure to wear our masks, do lots of hand washing with soap and water. There will be hand sanitizer available, and best of all, you will still have a wonderful time learning. So these paw prints are going to be in the hallways, and they'll show you how far away you need to stand from the person in front of you. So always make sure there's a paw print between you and the other person when you're walking in line. The yellow line keeps us safe, so we know we're walking on this side and other people will walk on that side. So you'll always know which side you need to stand on. We have paw prints in lots of places to show you how to stay far away from the person in front of you. There's tape that helps us remember in case you don't see a paw print, you'll be able to know where to stand on the tape. There were some challenges in the beginning, but once we got used to it, I knew exactly what to do.
Hi again. I have our friend Scarlett, and she's going to show you some of the things that are a little bit different now in school and some of the things that we need to do differently.
My name's Scarlett, and we need to get ready for school. My name's Little Drop. I can't figure out this word.
Sure.
You said,
Things.
oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Good job.
Thank you, everyone, for letting us give you a sneak peek of what our extended school day looked like here this summer.
Please let us know if you have any questions.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Tebow, and thank you to all of our participants this evening who's joined the school committee meeting, and thank you to school committee for allowing me to make this presentation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Malone, and thank you, Tara, for that wonderful little presentation to finish things up. Our next thing is to have public participation.
Joyce, may I interrupt for a moment, please?
Would you please, Jonathan?
So we have a large number of questions in the chat. May I suggest that we go through some of those first? Maybe have Mr. Caleri call out some of them and maybe get those answered first before we do public participation. Perhaps that will answer some other people's questions or concerns. If that's agreeable, I would propose that.
Is that agreeable with the committee? Hearing no problems. Yeah, I think so. I've been reading them as we go along, and it seems like some of them were fantastic questions that were concerned with how's this going on. And so, Mr. Cleary, do you want to take on that chore? Honor?
Sure. Yep. Sure.
You take on that honor.
Thank you, Mr. Caleri. I do appreciate this. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I thought you've done an excellent job at other parent presentations. So.
Sure. Thank you.
Great work is immediately rewarded.
Yeah. Go ahead, starting with Ms. Lissa Curtis, Mr. Cleary. I'll
Hang on, I
start.
just have to work. I have to work to the beginning of the chat because I've been scrolling through.
All right, I'll start. What is the difference in the district's remote learning and the learning management system? Will it be teacher directed? So the district's remote learning system will be teacher directed. The learning management system was a system that the Department of Education was working on to provide districts that would have to offer a full remote option to families that chose that option. But with this schedule that we've developed, we will be able to have our students in the district learn from our district on our district's curriculum with our teachers. There you go, Mr. Cleary. Next.
Sure. The next question, do parents have the ability to choose between Panther or Pride cohorts, or are they already determined? And connected with that is that I know siblings were mentioned as being in the same cohort. What about other family members, cousins, for instance? And I know that there were additional questions in the chat that were about cohorting between schools. There were specific questions relative to cohorts.
Yeah, so thank you for this question. No, the Panther and Pride cohorts have been developed by the principals, and the siblings are in the same cohort. We weren't able to cohort cousins, but certainly, when the cohorts are published, and the cohorts will be published by the principals in each school, you will, if they can make changes, I'm sure they'll do their best to accommodate families. When you learn which cohort, that will be, in time, soon. The principals, once we have a plan, and then we now move into the next phase of opening schools. Go ahead.
The next question, there were several questions, several folks had inquired about this same question, is why are we approaching this from a half-day standpoint as opposed to a full-day standpoint during this phase 1 opening?
That's an excellent question, but we really wanted to, this is a huge undertaking to go back to school, and serving lunch and some of the other aspects of the day. We really felt that what we're calling a soft, phased-in approach, because we have to learn, as you saw in the video, learning some of the new experiences and things that we have to do in the school, and we thought the half-day model would be most fitting for this. And the fact that getting students used to wearing masks during the school day and interacting with teachers and things, we thought this approach would ease us in.
There was a question regarding the Panther Pride slide. I think they may have confused the two slides of the hybrid schedule showing our initial model that had students reporting, Panther reporting on Monday and Tuesday. And then this model that we presented this evening was presented to have students in Panther attending on Mondays and Thursdays, and the Pride cohort students would attend on Tuesdays and Fridays. So that's just providing some clarity around that. There were a few questions in the chat about that. The next question, are Wednesdays all virtual synchronous or asynchronous? And then there were some follow-up questions about synchronous and asynchronous instruction regarding what happens if parents are not able to provide kids with synchronous instruction or make sure that kids are able to attend synchronous instruction times on those afternoons or on those Wednesdays.
The confusion on the Panther Pride slide, originally it said one group would come in half days on Monday and Tuesday, the second group would come in on Thursday and Friday. So one of the changes that was made was, as I was explaining, we need a transition plan, right? So the goal, is a full in-person return when the condition is on the ground, and the health metrics will make that possible. And so when we developed this plan to meet the needs of our families and our educators, it was really difficult to have a transition plan where the students could start going full days. And when we had the same cohort learning on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then the other half, the same cohort having 2 days of consecutive instruction, we weren't able to make a transition. We would have had to change cohorts, change schedules, and certainly that's the last thing that we would want to do for the teachers and for our families, is to upset and have to retool everything. So it took us a while to figure it out, I will tell you. So then we figured out, well, if we have the class come in half the class on Monday and the other half of the class on Tuesday, then we can seamlessly transition to the full days from Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. The question on are Wednesdays all virtual, synchronous, asynchronous? They will be both yes. What about students and IEPs? Mr. DeForge, I'm just wondering if we wanted to go to the public, 'cause the questions, I'm just wondering what was best, because we're getting more and more questions, and I would like to answer them, but I think, you know, we might want to move to the next section.
That's fine for me.
Okay, I think you're going to see some questions repeated over and over, and if people hear them,
Yeah.
then they will be answered.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that question about, do parents have an option for fully remote? Yes, they do. And what will happen is, once the plan, the school committee votes on the plan moving forward, we will reach out to parents next week, and we will, after the meeting on Monday night, and a lot of these questions that are in here, we'll certainly address at that meeting. And once you get the blueprint, a lot of your questions may also be addressed. And then we'll be asking parents to commit, if the vote tonight is the hybrid model as presented, I would ask parents to indicate to us if they would be attending in that model, or if they will be opting for the full remote model.
So I guess I didn't realize that the participants couldn't see the chat, only us as panelists could. So if that's an issue, then I guess I would ask that we do switch over to public participation. I guess maybe one last question we can get out, because I've seen it go by a couple times. Just, is staff going to stay in the building when deep cleaning takes place after the students leave on half days?
Yeah, that was a question that was asked, and Mr. Brigg has assured us that they can work around the teachers to do the cleaning.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was a good suggestion. I think we probably hopefully answered a fair number of questions. And so moving on then to open up to public participation. So just prior to that, I think everybody, and looking at the questions and the positivity of so many of them, just wanting to know when and how, and some real good things. And I think we all need to think that our best days are going to still lie ahead. And we are working for kids, and the kids' safety is the priority. And so it's very important that we keep this in mind. And we're going to have hope over fear, and we will continue on to do our best with unity over division. So I know that what I've heard many, many times, we're going to have as much flexibility as possible. So opening up the public participation, I would like to invite Steve Tully. And remember, everyone, please identify yourself and your address, please.
Excuse
Tully,
me.
are you with us?
I'm sorry, Joyce. This is Mike Thibault, Director of Technology. Good evening, everyone. If you could do me a favor, if you would like to speak, if you could just go to the chat and type your full name and that you'd like to speak, and we'll give you access to speaking. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you, Joyce.
No, fine. I got lost. So does everybody understand that? Okay. So they're lining up already for you, Michael. So Mr. Tully, are you with us?
Yeah, Steve will be joining us very shortly. He's coming on now.
Okay. And I will try, everyone can see the countdown. So if you're having problems seeing the countdown, please contact Mr. Thibault.
To unmute myself. So you can hear me now? Everybody can hear me?
Just fine.
Yep.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. So let me know when you're ready to count me down, and I'll start.
Go ahead, Steve. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve Tully, the President of the Teachers Union, and also other educators on the ASRSD unit. We would like to start remotely to start the school year and also have a mini hybrid piece to it. Now, let me explain this a little bit. Remote start with staff in buildings, and students in small groups, not all on one day, okay? But small groups of numbers of students would come in for the services that they need, and also for extra help, perhaps 5 to 10 students per day, and a different 5 to 10 students another day. So you wouldn't have any more than 5 to 10 students per day. That would be in our buildings with staff being in the rooms. Of course, they would wear masks, students would be wearing masks, staff would be wearing masks. Now, why do I say this remote start / mini hybrid piece? We polled our members, 148 dues payers of our unit, which is the largest unit of both towns for the collective bargaining purposes. And all 3 surveys that we had indicated overwhelmingly support for a remote model. Hearing the questions tonight, just the small group that Jonathan had done and Charlie had moderated, there is no way that I believe we can start in any kind of physical model in the building. There's too many questions out there that people have unanswered. There are too many questions that people have still, okay? And the piece is that our health and our safety of our students and our staff
15 seconds, please.
are prominent, okay? So why not begin slowly and add in as it progresses through the year based on spread of COVID throughout the state, because many are coming from all over the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tully. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Next up is Jeanette Wade. If you could just introduce yourself and give your address, please.
Jeanette Wade, have we lost you?
Okay. Now, Jeanette, if you can just chat me and we can go back to you. All right. Next up is Robin Michelle Pascucci. My apologies if I mispronounced that name. I just want to remind people too that you have to unmute yourself when you're promoted to panelist. Thank you.
Hello?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Hi, sorry. So I'm an educator as well. I work in a different school district, although I did work in Air Shirley for a period of time. And of all the hybrid models that I've seen in surrounding school districts, this is the only one that I've seen that has a half-day model. And my concern is that as other school districts and the state try to return to some sort of in-person learning in a hybrid model, that this is going to make it difficult for educators who work outside of the town to return to work. If my kids have the half-day schedule, by the time I get into school, I'm going to have to return to pick up my children. So this is going to make it tougher for the state as a whole. And I'm just interested why this, Air Shirley has come up with this unique hybrid model. I understand the benefits, but if we're talking about working together as a state as a whole, I think it's really not going to be conductive to other schools, whether remote or hybrid, getting back, having one school that has such a unique approach to it. And my other question that I don't know if someone can address now or maybe at another time is I have 2 students entering the school system, but I only received 1 Chromebook, and I don't know if that was supposed to be 1 per family or if we just should have received another Chromebook. So that's really all I have. But I do think that with most schools doing a hybrid model using 2 days a week, full days, having Air Shirley do something different is going to make it difficult across the board. Thank you.
If I may answer that, the misconception is that every student from kindergarten on up, every student will be receiving a Chromebook. There could be some still coming. Thank you.
Yeah, that is correct. If I could just quickly add, if you have 2 or 3 children in the house, we will providing a Chromebook for each child. All right. Next up is Brittany Effler. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, Brittany, if you could just unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Brittany Effler, and I live on Littleton Road. I just have a couple of questions. One is in regards to, what is the flexibility to moving between the remote and in person? Like, for example, if I don't want my children in person for at least a month to start the year, or if before holidays I decide that I may want to quarantine for 14 days prior to those holidays to make sure that I can see at-risk family, etc. And additionally, what do you estimate the time on learning loss would be implementing these new protocols, especially in such a short amount of time in person? I understand that obviously there would be a learning curve, especially for younger children, but it just seems that in order to get everybody into the school, everybody social distanced, everybody's hands washed, everybody sanitized, everybody sitting down. I mean, it could go on, right? And then you have snack time and break, and then you're it's rinse and repeat. So I was just wondering what you estimate that loss would be, and if it's easier to do that in those 3 hours, or if it would be easier to have a full remote start. I do understand that it is important for children to see their teachers and be in person. I just don't know if it's necessarily easier in terms of time and what teachers really feel the benefit would be. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to go back to Jeanette Wade.
I think it's important that we, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Could you answer that question?
I was going to say, I think it's important that we answer, that's a question that we've seen come across the chat is what's the commitment level based on hybrid versus remote? And, I think that's an important question that many people have.
Hi, Dr. Malone here. We're looking at a commitment of a term, a quarter, if you're at the high school, and the elementary schools and middle schools are on trimesters, which they have about a 2-week period difference. And so we would ask that parents, the family stay on it for a quarter or a trimester.
And do you have an estimate on what loss of learning time would be due to new protocols?
Yes, we have figured out the time on learning. We have minimal loss on learning time at the high school and the middle school, but the elementary, we meet the new relaxed learning requirements. It's 9:35 for middle school and high school, and 8:50 for the elementary. But one of the things in the plan is, once we, this is to be the model, the bus travel takes about 45 minutes to and from school, but with the numbers of students coming significantly reduced, we have 12 buses in the fleet. So we're hoping that once we plan all this, that the bus routes, we could add some more bus routes so students, we can shorten the bus ride. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Wade, would you still like to speak?
So Mike?
Yep.
I don't know if I'm muted. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you just fine. So.
Yeah, well, then now I just put the chat down. I believe she wanted us to read her question from the chat.
Yep.
So her question was, when will you be able to communicate what the LAW aftercare program will be? Will the program be set up like a classroom to facilitate remote learning because the children will have laptops? Will there be teachers available to assist?
I don't have those specifics right now, Ms. Granger. So we don't have a plan yet. So I haven't been able to work with Mrs. Knoll and with a plan there. So once we know the return to school plan, then we can start planning those specifics.
Okay. No, thank
you.
you. And Jeanette, if that was not your question that you wanted read, could you please add it to the chat?
Thank you, Michelle. Next up, we have John and Kim Chabot.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Hello, John Chabot, Kim Chabot, for we just 48 Willow Road near ACP. Just a couple of quick questions. On the half-day model, which seems almost incredibly impractical on every level, but it seemed like the primary reason against the half-day model was masking for the kids the whole day. Now, our son has been in ACP all summer and fully masked throughout the entirety of his participation in that, which is actually longer than a regular school day, and he's been fine with it, and he's in first grade. So I think that may be an overreaction to think that the kids can adjust to that very, very quickly. They seem to be able to do so.
Seem to do better than the adults I've seen.
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. He enjoys it. He thinks it's like a spider mask, and it's great. So I think that's kind of a silly argument as far as a primary reason not to go to a full-day model, which again, as one of the previous callers mentioned earlier, that seems horrendously impractical for everyone involved. The other issue is on kindergarten, first grade, probably second and third grade. I do not know how you expect them to stay active and attentive to a computer for an 8-hour period or 7-hour period. You know, last spring during the remote learning period when he was in kindergarten, it was challenged just to get him to do kind of the very engaging, entertaining sort of game programs that we use for reading. I have no clue how we expect them to be able to stay attentive to the teachers over that period, barring full parents sitting on them the whole time. Which again, I'm sure most people are in our boat where they're working remotely if they've got the kids with them. And that's simply not practical to expect the parents to basically act as de facto teachers for you. So I don't know how that works. Yes, go ahead.
Also, we were wondering with ACP, how are they going to be able to facilitate getting students to focus in on computers and join into Zoom meetings when they're not really staffed to do so? I don't see them having that ability to actually interact with the kids in that capacity without it being a larger amount of people in the room than a classroom would be. I think that's our time.
Yes. Sorry, moving over.
That's okay. Thank you.
Mr. Tebow?
Yes, Ms. Malone. Dr. Malone.
Make one comment about the question about the child care program over at Laura White. So Mrs. Knoll has been reaching out to some of the families, but I hope I'm not trying to be to give an answer that's not specific, but we don't know what the model is, was going to be. So she has been in her space over there and looking at the number of students and things that she can take and looking at the staff that she can provide. So once we have a model, and then we'll meet to then prepare and then get out communications to parents. So I'm sorry if that seemed confusing, but there's been some preliminary work done, and once we have a model, then she will be able to determine the hours that she can make available and the staffing that she will need. Thank you.
Dr. Malone, can I say something real quick? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, Cheryl.
So it was in the presentation, but I think several people missed it about the reason why we moved to this slower phase in with a half a day. a lot of concern came through from both parents and staff about the numbers of students in classrooms and not being able to hit that 6-foot distance or more in every single classroom. And the other concern was around lunchtime, the amount of kids that would be in lunch and how would they be spread out. So the half-day model was sort of a slower approach to this and would allow those classrooms to have half the amount of students. So if there are 20 kids in a class, now there would only be 10, and you could actually create the 6 feet, if not more, because people were very uncomfortable with 3.5 feet.
And Mrs. Simmons, if I may add that, if this is the plan moving forward, the school committee would do an evaluation on the efficacy of the program on their October 6th school committee meeting.
All right, are we ready to move on to the next participant?
Please.
It would be Chad Pierce. All right, Mr. Pierce, you are up.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So my question mostly comes from IEPs. That wasn't really covered here. We have obviously have a child that has an IEP, and there's very strict instructions associated with that. Can you expand on that a little bit? How that's going to be handled, and obviously, of course, regarding Pride versus Panther, assuming Mr. Deppy, my kid goes to Page Hilltop, will be assigning those. We'll get an email on what our kid's going to be. That's probably just some parents have questions on that. But again, back to the IEPs, if you could expand on how that's going to be handled, what we're expecting to see from the school in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Tebow, Mrs. Bozak, could you address that just for a few minutes, please?
Terry, you're muted.
Thank you. The students with disabilities will follow one of the cohorts, either the Panthers or the Pride cohort, unless they are already categorized with high needs, with complex and significant needs. And with following one of the cohorts, either the Panther or the Pride cohort, they will get as many as the related services that they need in person. It will look a little bit differently, obviously, because we'll be doing some in person and some remote services for students, but we'll still be following the grids of the IEPs. It'll vary individually for each student. Collaboration with the special educator and the general education team will be really key during this time.
Does that help?
I actually, let me bring Chad back up for you real quick.
Okay, you got me again?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. And thank you, ma'am, for calling in on your vacation from the tropics, apparently, according to your background on the Zoom video. That's awesome. Okay, that's good. Well, I assume then we'll just wait to hear from the special ed team. And it's just good to hear that will be in person. You answered my main question. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you can always contact me, too, if you want to speak more specifically around your student and their needs.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Megan Marshall. Well, Miss Marshall, just letting you know we can't hear you just fine. Okay, we can go back to Ms. Marshall. Next up, we have Chris Page.
Hello?
Oh, there, we can hear you just fine, Ms. Marshall. You hear us okay? Hello? Okay, Mr. Page, hopefully you're still with us. I'm going to promote you to panelist now. And you should be all set.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. I have a couple questions. It's been emphasized a few times tonight that this plan is a slow start or temporary. And as I understand it, the primary motivator for doing this model has simply been the inability to comply with the 6-foot distance rule. Can you please give some specific public health metrics that you'll be using to determine when a full in-person schooling would be possible?
Hi, this is Dr. Malone. I don't want to speak for the school committee, but I stated that on the October 6th meeting for school committee, they will be evaluating the efficacy of this program and whether the metrics on the ground, if they continue. So for Air and Shirley, I think Air is like at 1.25%. Earlier in the presentation, I mentioned that 5% positivity rate is a threshold. Anything at 5 or higher would be considered, frequency of cases, if you will. And so I think as long, that the cases continue to trend the way they are in the towns of Air and Shirley and in the state of Massachusetts. Again, I don't want to speak for the school committee what their metric would be, but that's the metric that's being used.
So if I understand that right, you said you're using a 5% positivity metric, but Air right now is at a 1.2% positivity metric?
Yes, Air is at 1.25. It's not what I'm.
So we're below the threshold that you would use to establish going back to full time?
Well, it's not, I'm not saying personally me, what I'm saying is that 5% is the threshold that is used in the state and the country for positivity rates. And when you get to that 5% or above it, I believe that the interpretation is that you have an increase in cases and there may be a concentration of cases in that community. But at this time, so in the last 2 weeks in Air, I believe there were 4 cases. So this is through August 5th, this data. That was at 1.25%. And then Shirley, I think, had 1 case. So they're like at 0.57 positivity rate.
Thank you. I would suggest that the school committee, in terms of accepting any plan, make sure that there is a plan to get out of the temporary schooling, because I would be concerned that there is no way that you'll really get out of this plan without a quantifiable public health metric that makes sense. Thank you.
If I might, I'm not allowed to answer as the committee, but I think the feeling has been all along that this is going to be constantly revisited and there will be a plan to move forward. And it's all going to be, it'll come together. But you're right. You have to know what your next step is going to be. It's very important always. And maybe the 5 steps after that. So thank you for that comment.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Next up, we have Paige Leon.
Hello.
Oh, Paige, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, my name is Paige Leone, and I am an Air resident. I have 3 kids in the school system. I also am an educator myself. And the question I would like to see addressed, I'd written in the bar before, is what we are doing to ensure the safety of our educators, our staff in the buildings. I know it's a statewide thing. I'm dealing with it in my district, but it seems like we are limiting the exposure for students, having them come to school 2 half days, yet the teachers are there pretty much all week, all day. And in theory, the kids are limited, but if we are being, as educators, being exposed to everybody, we are then exposing our children to everybody. So I kind of just want that question addressed about how we are keeping our educators and staff in the building safe, because especially in our small community, one serious illness, someone who ends up in the hospital or God forbid dies, is going to devastate our children in the school. So that's my request, is to see how we're going to keep our educators safe and keep the metrics on that as well, not just the children.
Thank you, Ms. Leone. Next up is
I'm sorry. I actually would prefer if Dr. Malone could sort of touch on that a bit.
Yep.
I know we've talked in previous presentations about the amounts of PPE we've worn, but maybe a brief covering of that, sort of what we're doing with our staff to make sure that they feel safe as well, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. DeForge. So the reduction of the modified hybrid model that brings students in half a class was for in the interest of the staff and the students. So I would say that the plan is approached with the safety of staff and students in mind, and the students would be going home, after the half day, and there would not be any students in the building. And so I believe that this model was built and developed with the safety of not only the students, but of course the staff. In earlier presentations, we talked about we're going to have health protocols training and the 6-foot distancing when you travel in the building, and the cleaning and the disinfecting, and that all of the personal protective supplies that we'll be supplying each teacher in their classroom.
Dr. Malone, thank you for your answer. I understand that. However, students are going home. The teachers are not. So they are being exposed to each other, and they are still being exposed to the same amount of students. The half day is only saying one day they're exposed to half of them, the next day they're exposed to the other half. So in reality, your educators are going to be exposed to everybody. And God knows what happens when the kids go home. Every family has a different safety measures. So that's kind of what I'm saying here, is that how can you ensure that pod B coming in isn't going to expose the teacher to something who then is going to pass it along to pod A when they come in the next day? And the staff to each other. We've seen the articles in the newspapers all summer about staff being together remotely and them exposing each other. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Frank Devon.
Oh, excuse me. Jason Leone had a question in there too.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Can I go on my own 2
yeah,
minutes?
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, feel free. Go right ahead, Jason.
I appreciate it. So, I mean, similar to Dr. Malone's answer to the staff safety, it seemed like the last meeting there were massive amounts of unanswered questions with this hybrid. Whether it be the isolation or what is done when someone comes in that's possibly positive or might have a cold, or there were just, is the ventilation good? Is it not good? There were just so many questions for a model that seems to me offers less synchronous time on learning than the remote option does. It offers less opportunity for students to connect individually with teachers than the remote option. And it really doesn't seem to free up a whole lot of working time for parents, because students are really only in the building for 3 hours, 2 days a week. I agree with the people that are talking about the full return to school. That seems to be the idea that everybody is going for. We all want to be fully back in school. The hybrid seems to be a Band-Aid. Let's get the remote done. It seems like a very, very good plan for the remote, as good as it can be. and then get everyone back to school as soon as we can. The hybrid just seems like there's too many unanswered questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? We ready to move on to the next speaker?
Any comments on that from anybody? I think I have worked with the public now since April 2nd. And the rules that I made for my staff, since they were being exposed to the public all the time, and I laid out something so you walk in, you wash your hands. We talk about the kids washing their hands and wearing their masks. It's the same for staff. Keeping 6 feet apart, it's the same for staff. And I think that's what we all have to think out. And then eventually, if we get into full opening, this is still going to be habits that will have been set up. So you're right. But I think you have to think of everything that everybody needs to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Devon, you are up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you for taking my question.
No problem.
Just 2 weeks ago, we were told in a Zoom meeting that the current precautions you were taking were fine with the 3-foot distancing, the masks, and the hand wash, that it was safe to fully go back to school. Now you've increased the distance that kids will be separated and from staff, yet we're doing half-day models because all of a sudden it's not safe. I don't understand. This is completely contradictory. There's no reason why we can't why a student can't be in class full day, even in a hybrid model. I just think that, as somebody pointed out earlier, the idea that a kid can't wear a mask all day when you see him traveling all over the place with masks. My kids wear them all day. They don't have a problem with them. I really think it should be that the district should really look at having at least full day hybrid models. And again, where we're already well below the health metrics you just mentioned in the presentation. So I don't see any safety precautions. I don't see any safety hazards from preventing us from returning to a full day, even in a hybrid model. So I'd like you to address that, please.
Anyone wish to make a comment on that?
Sure, Dr. Malone here. It wasn't just about, the students can't wear the mask. I mean, we just, that was one of the pros for students that, we could get used to this model. And we just felt that to bring students back on a half day and then revisit it, and I stated October 6th is the date, so it would be a couple of weeks, that we felt that a more soft opening to begin. And I know there was a couple of questions in the chat about the cohorts and if we were to transition to full days. So nothing would change about the model. Your child's schedule that they have now in a half day would just become full day, and they would stay in school all day. That's why it's a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah, but the parents also in every survey overwhelmingly wanted full days to start too, and that doesn't seem to be considered. In every survey, it was well over 1,000 parents want full day class participation, but that doesn't seem to be factored into the metrics here.
May I say something, if you don't mind, Dr. Malone?
No.
When
Cheryl, we can't hear you.
Oh no.
Are you out?
Hold on, Cheryl, we can't hear you. Oh no.
Cheryl, you need to start over.
I just texted her.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what you heard. My computer
We
spontaneously
actually
muted.
heard nothing, so you may start at the very beginning.
I have to start over. Okay. Let me try to condense what I said. If you have kids in a full day hybrid, then the kids who are at home are pretty much left on their own, that there isn't going to be any length of connection to teachers and directed learning and that sort of thing. What we did hear from parents with the fully remote in the spring was how difficult that was for the parents to kind of have to become the teachers. So it's multiple things. It's trying to keep the numbers down actually inside classrooms. It's trying to keep kids separated, the amount of space needed on a bus. So all of these issues come into play when you're trying to come up with a model. And what I think we're trying to do is start to slowly introduce kids to the building and then really look at how that is working on a variety of levels.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, moving on. Miss Megan Marshall has resolved her technical difficulties, so you're up next, Miss Marshall. Ms. Marshall, if you could just either ask your question in the chat or just let me know when things are back up and running.
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Excellent. We can hear you just fine.
I apologize. So
No, quite all
one
right.
quick question is, in terms of synchronizing family schedules, to clarify, if you have a child who's in elementary school and children who are in middle school and in high school, they will all be on the same schedule?
Dr. Malone here, yes.
Okay, and then both my husband and I are public high school teachers, and we are going to be teaching fully remotely from our building while some of our students are in the building. And I would really like the school committee and Dr. Malone to consider allowing the teachers in the Air Shirley district to use their professional discretion when they are exclusively teaching remotely, especially on those Wednesdays, to be able to work remotely themselves from home and allow them the same flexibility that we as parents all need with childcare. And that's all. And thank you so much for your patience with my questions and tech issues. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up we have Megan Geary.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Megan.
Great. So as you said, I'm Megan Geary. I'm actually new to the town of Air. We just moved here over the summer. I work as a child clinical psychologist in Chelmsford. And so I've really had a good firsthand account of a lot of, what's been happening with my own child who's a kindergartner. Well, he'll be going in first grade. And also with a lot of the children that I've been working with. And so, they're primarily in other school districts, but I just have some questions about things like, okay, there's, you know, a lot of children that I work with who have a lot of difficulties with completing the work at home. They have a lot of difficulties with remote learning and being able to attend, and their parents being able to wear the teacher hat and the parent hat at the same time. I had a lot of parents in tears in the spring, and I guess I want that to be taken into account when the vote is taken, and being able to look at, you know, obviously balancing our physical safety along with our mental health concerns and safety. And so I guess the main questions would be, what do parents do if their child is being non-compliant or they're really not accessing the curriculum? And what do we do to address like mental health concerns? I mean, obviously we can go to the guidance counselor and things like that, but from some of the clients I work with, it's much more extensive. You know, a meeting with a guidance counselor is just not going to be enough. So, and good job everybody in trying to figure this out. There's no decision that's going to make everyone happy, but I definitely want to look at the mental health piece.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate the question and comments. Any comments from anyone else?
I guess I would just ask if either Dr. Malone or Mrs. Bozak could sort of address that, and what resources we may be able to offer students and families if they do struggle with this. I know maybe they don't quite fit into a traditional extended help, but maybe they just need maybe they need a person to vent to, if nothing else, or get some ideas. So I would appreciate that, please.
Sure, Dr. Malone here. Those are excellent questions, and we do understand, you know, the issues for parents trying to teach at home, and that's why the plan includes a phased approach so we can get to full in-person return. But, you know, for a parent, the questions, I mean, they're not easy questions that you've asked, and certainly I wouldn't be able to give them a really succinct answer. But, you know, when we were doing the remote learning in March, we did have I felt a very strong support system for parents and students when students weren't complying at home or weren't logging on. Our rate of students not logging on, I think we had just about every student. You know, we're a smaller district, but we did have, you know, most students were engaged for the most part. And, you know, the mental health piece, so we have excellent school counselors, we have 2 school psychologists, and we also subscribe to the Will & James Interface, which is a referral agency that we could use if we encourage families to call, and then the counselors, it's like a screening, and they try to match the family's issues with an experienced counselor. But I really would like to start with the school piece and the school support that, you know, it's really for us to work with that student first, and then to be able to recommend and provide that parent external support services around the mental health and perhaps non-compliance in the remote model, I think is what you're referring to.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Tom Biolsi.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, thank
Could
you.
I please ask that people give their address publicly, please?
Sure. This is Tom Biolsi. I'm on Oak Ridge Drive in Air.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me participate. I just wanted to say, thank you. I'm glad to hear that the district is, entertaining a component of in-person learning. My wife and I fully support as much in-person learning as possible. My wife and I would prefer the committee strongly consider having the component of full days rather than half days. It's extremely difficult, as I'm sure it is for many parents, working parents that work full-time remotely, trying to juggle that with trying to homeschool their children. So as much in-person learning in the school, I think would be most beneficial for our kids. As far as safety is concerned, I'm also glad to hear that the district is allowing full remote learning options. So for those parents who are very concerned about their children's or their public safety and health, that they have the option to keep their kids at home. And I don't think that should negatively impact those parents who wish to send their kids to school with the proper safety precautions that what I've heard has been done. Everyone's going to be wearing masks. As we understand, everyone's going to be maintaining proper social distancing of 6 feet, which is greater than current literature of 3 feet suggests for children. Proper sanitizing. So, I feel that the proper precautions will be taken to allow safe entry into school for in-person learning. And if I may add, if I have a little bit of time, I can't see the timer, but our kids are going to the ACP, the after-school program, the day camp that's going on now. And I will echo another person's comment earlier that our kids wear masks. They don't have any problems. I have a feeling that kids have less of a problem wearing masks than adults do. So again, my only question that come out of this is to ask what metric, and this was echoed earlier, will be measured to allow us to go back to full in-person learning. As was mentioned, we're below that, positive 5% already. And, what's going to be, and I understand folks are going to be meeting early October to reevaluate what type of model we may adjust to. But having some specific metrics that once we hit that to allow us to go to more in-person, I think would be very helpful for us to understand how we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Biolsi. Any comment from anyone?
I would actually just add something. I think that, and so I'm on a listserv with a number of other school committee members statewide, and that's a very interesting topic. Or the metric is people want to come to a consensus on what a metric is across the state that's appropriate for everybody, or at least for local districts. And one of the members of this listserv has actually developed a chart that is easily used for to show where we are locally and where we are in the state, and whether that means what we should be doing. And I think that's something, at least as a committee, personally, I think we should explore, so that very easily our parents know where to look on our website for what we're seeing, and also what phase we're in, and they can hopefully help judge, so we know as well where we're headed in short order.
Thank you, Mr. DeBorge. Just want to let the committee know that there are no other requests to speak at this time.
Mr. Tebow,
I
there were
apologize.
a couple of questions, and I know the answers to these, but there were a number of questions about getting Chromebooks and having Chromebooks replaced, et cetera, et cetera. And since you are our lead on this, I didn't know if you wouldn't mind making a small statement, since there were a number of questions on that earlier.
Sure, I don't mind making a statement on that at all. And real quick, there is one other participant that would like to speak. So in terms of Chromebooks, I have received several emails from parents about when their child is getting a Chromebook, or they have already received a Chromebook, but It wasn't in the best working order when it was received, and I apologize for that if you didn't get a fully functioning Chromebook. So what we're doing over the next few weeks is we're handing out Chromebooks by grade level, one day at a time. We're being mindful of social distancing. When a grade is ready, an email is sent out to the parents with a date to pick it up. And we're also going to try and schedule a second pickup time in the evening for every grade level, just to accommodate family schedules. If you do have a damaged Chromebook or something just isn't working correctly with it, you can reach out to myself and Erica Crawford. I'll share it on the screen before the end of this meeting. Just let us know what the issue is with the Chromebook, and we'll do our best to provide you with a new one. But as I mentioned earlier, we're going to make sure every child has a device. We know this is a big component, not only for in-person, but also remote learning as well.
Thank you, Mike. It just seemed like there were a number of comments and questions around that, so
Yep,
might
the
be
emails.
time to talk about it.
The emails, you will be receiving an email soon. Like I said, we're just doing one grade at a time so that we're not having everybody show up at once.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And you said we had someone else who wishes to speak.
Yes, Mr. Bill Effler. Just give me a moment, please. Okay, Mr. Effler, if you could just unmute yourself. Ready to go.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll try to keep this quick. So I just want to, go back to a point that I think's been overlooked. There's been questions about the safety of the teachers, but really, the educators came out and they stated that they would like a remote start. And, I know like every teacher, they want to get back, but only if it's safe. And they've come out now and said that they do not feel safe. And I feel like a lot of people are forgetting too. It's about keeping the kids, the teachers, the staffs, and all the families associated with that. So I just want to know, the teachers have come out saying that they would like to start the remote. Why is that sort of being disregarded and not being taken into account? Thanks.
I can give a response to that. Thank you. This is Dr. Malone. Yes, we respect with the teachers, but it doesn't, there is a split, if you will. I think we looked at it today. I don't know if it was like a 40 or 45 to 55, 45 wanting to come back and 55 going for the remote. That is percent, I'm sorry. I'm speaking in percentages. Thank you.
It is, just quickly, is that the actual teachers, or does that include like the support staff, like the paraprofessionals and all that?
It's disaggregated by paraprofessionals and then teachers. So I'm citing the percentages from the teachers in the surveys that we sent out to teachers.
Does that help you?
Well, yes and no. Like, yes, I appreciate the answer and the numbers, but again, I still feel like the teachers are going to be there, right? They're the people that are going to be in here teaching your kids. If they don't feel safe, I feel like there should be additional weight put into that in regards to the decision of how you start the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was going through the chat, and there is a Lynch, but it doesn't refer, I'm not sure who it is, and they're asking about their own child's allergies. And my experience with the school with the son with allergies was that the nurses tend to know about this and tend to take it into effect. And I think with all the sanitizing we're doing in the schools, anything that's being affected by that would be much improved because of everything else that we're doing. If you wish to speak privately with the medical staff to see if that helps you. And I don't know whether it's Miss or Mrs., so I apologize. I tried to answer it personally, but it didn't seem to work.
Okay, we do have another participant that would like to speak. Miss Angela Crothers.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, Angela.
Okay, so this is Angela and Matthew Crothers from Groton Harvard Road. Thanks for letting us chime in here. First, I just want to start by saying that I think that we are really pushing for full days as well, even if it is a hybrid model. We think that it's extremely important that kids get to go back to school, see their teachers, get instructions directly from their teachers, see their friends, even in this new COVID world. And of course, take precautions and be prepared to move back to remote learning on a dime. You know, COVID's not going away anytime soon, and I feel that we have to learn how to live in a world with COVID, and we have to teach our children how to live safely in a world with COVID. And as far as, you know, just going off of, you know, teachers feeling safe going back to school, I absolutely love my teachers. I love our teachers here in AIR and all the staff. But I think back to, okay, there are many of us parents who have to work every day. Whether we're scared or not, we have to work. There are people in grocery stores who see hundreds of customers and they're making minimum wage, but they have to work. I think that if we set up all the safety precautions that we're trying to set up, we will find solutions so that we can all feel safe sending our kids to school and having our teachers go to school. I think that we just have to get, you know, push forward and be ready to step back. And then I didn't know, Matt, did you have anything you wanted to?
No, I just want to touch upon this. My wife and I we have our own food company. It's a retail we are retail, and we see the people every day that are putting out groceries, stocking shelves, have been since the beginning, making nothing. And they are out there every day doing that for everybody and making no money doing it. And they're able to go to work safely, be in contact with thousands of people a day, and maintain a pretty low transmission rate. And, you know, there are some outliers, but they do a pretty good job. And I think we could figure a way to do that with schools as well.
Yeah, it's essential. And I think education is also essential. So I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tebow, is that?
I'm going through the chat right now. There are no other requests for people to chat unless there are some people that would like to speak again that have already spoken. I think some guidelines were set to allow people to speak once, but I just want to make sure that's how you want to handle it. No?
Does anybody have an opinion on that on the board?
Keep it to one time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We do have another person that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we do have another person that would like to speak, Ms. Julie Murray. And Julie, we just promoted you to panelist, so hopefully you can unmute yourself.
Hello, it's actually Julie's husband, Scott, who's lurking under her name. My apologies.
No problem. My apologies on the name, Scott.
You want to pull up your thing? One second.
So my question is so my background is I'm a physician that works at controlling COVID outbreaks in institutions. And my question specifically has to deal with masking, which is probably the single most effective means we have at preventing spread from person to person. There's been some new data out about masks, and not all masks are created equally. Specifically, there's been a lot of people using more popular, more breathable masks that are very thin and stretchy that are called neck cravats that stretch around the neck and kind of hang up over the nose. We know that bandanas are essentially useless in preventing the spread of COVID or preventing the spread of the droplets that COVID lives on. And it seems that the neck cravats, the super stretchy ones that are very easy to breathe through, may increase the spread of the droplets because the droplets shatter into smaller sizes and then travel further distances. I'd be curious to know if the district has any plans to either set standards for masks that either students or staff can wear, and if there's any plan on what to do if people choose not to wear masks when they come to school, whether they're claiming some sort of medical or religious or political exemption from wearing masks, or if there's a behavioral issue where they just cannot wear masks. How does the district plan to handle that? Essentially, the general guideline that's been found from recent studies is that if you hold a mask up to a bright light and you can see light through the mask is ineffective at preventing the spread of the droplets that carry coronavirus. Thank you for your time. And I just would like to say that I really do appreciate all the deep, thoughtful interests that is going on at the superintendent level and at the school board level to balance all the issues and the needs that everybody has from the school district. Thank you very much.
If I might, if Dr. Murray is still here, there was a question in the chat about masks, and if you could, my reference was some articles that talked about 3 layers, and I know that we have quite a few masks for kids to use. Can you comment on that, Dr. Murray?
I think the data suggests that a 3-ply cotton and possibly a 2-ply cotton on either side with a polyester layer in between or some sort of monofilament in between is the most effective. However, truthfully, the most effective mask is probably the mask that somebody wears and doesn't take off intermittently. Just from personal experience at trying to manage this problem. However, mask efficacy really has to do with how well the droplets are stopped on the inside of the mask, and also about leakage around the mask. If you were planning to space children many feet apart, and 6 feet is a very noble goal, then allowing some air to escape around the mask to the sides or at the nose level at the eyes is less of a problem because the droplets tend to eddy around the face rather than spreading 6 feet out as the velocity decreases when people exhale. But when people wear masks that are made of gym short materials that are essentially perforated polyester that have like 1 to 2 millimeter gaps in the perforations, those masks are useless, as are masks that are very, very thin cotton poly blends like a bandana that you can see through essentially.
Thank you, because I know it's a question that comes up quite a bit, and it's good to hear from someone directly.
Yeah, just to sort of go on with that, I do think it's important that we sort of define what we're expecting for mask wearing, just because I have seen other, I mean, everyone knows I love Walt Disney World, and so I see what goes on there. You know, they have banned those sort of neck gaiters, bandanas, masks with the exhale port on them. So I think it may be prudent to work with our local Board of Health and our district doctor, Dr. Godfrey, to make sure that we are giving guidelines on what masks are going to be acceptable. I don't want to make that a school bus decision or I would like to set that expectation ahead of time for everyone involved.
There's also the question that people have about what will happen if kids refuse to wear masks. They have not seen the blueprint, so they don't know the answer to that. What will happen to kids if they do not wear their mask?
Sure, Dr. Malone here. Thank you to the doctor for providing the information. The nurse leader for our district, Renee Payne, is on this meeting tonight and works very closely with the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health And, we're going to look into that new data that came out, and we will follow the CDC guidelines. With respect to students refusing to wear a mask, there is a protocol that is in the blueprint. And of course, we would try, this teacher would try to redirect. And in the next phase, our step would be involving the school counselors to work with the child and talk about that this is a requirement and that masks are mandatory in school. And at that point, you maybe get the family involved. And but it is going to be mandatory. And if we are not able to get the students to wear the mask and comply, then we would probably have to send the student home, because we are going to adhere to the mandatory requirement of mask wearing in our schools.
Thank you, Dr. Murray.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just wondering how you would like to move forward, just being somewhat mindful of the time.
We have really wanted to give everybody as much of a chance and be as liberal as we could with this. We are approaching, my watch is wrong, I'm sorry, 8:45. And I know that we are going to have a couple of more meetings. We also have a school committee meeting next Wednesday night, which is going to go on to other details. But I think at this point, our requirement is that we turn into the Department of Ed tomorrow a plan. And so I would open up to the committee now and limit it to the committee to say anyone who wishes to make a motion to open a discussion, please speak up.
Joyce.
If we have a motion, then we can motion it to the floor for discussion. Was that you, Michelle?
Yeah, that was me. I just, because we just established the, the cutoff for public participation, there are 2 people that were on there before you did that. So I don't know if we want to go back.
Do those people still wish to speak? Can you tell Mike if they still wish to speak? I saw one, but I didn't see them come up again.
Yeah, I will.
I mean, we've announced it now, but there are some people that had put in a request before, so.
Okay, if Liz would forgive me for not saying her name.
Yeah, we do have 2 people.
I think that's the one I saw.
Liz Rukowski and Mr. Eric Lopez, I believe. So
yeah, and Mr. Gubalini was in there as well. So I think those 3 would be
okay.
Possible.
I have no problem with continuing. I think it's very important.
Right.
I mean, I think we've cut it off, but I think those people that had put in a request prior to us cutting it off should be heard.
Great. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, Ms. Frankowski, you are up next to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Great, thank you. Liz Frankowski from Howard Street in Air. Thank you for comment. I know it is really late. And thank you to everyone that's been involved in the development of this plan, because I do feel like a lot of thought and care has gone into developing a plan that, tries to be the least lousy of a lot of lousy options. So I really do appreciate and want to thank everyone that's been involved in the development of the plan. It seems to me one of the benefits of this plan, the hybrid model, is the agility to phase back to a full day hybrid model or even a full day in-person model. And, the agility to move back to remote learning if, God forbid, there's a spike in cases in Massachusetts or in our community. So I would just like to ask a question or just pose a request, I guess, with regard to what is the plan for notifying parents about a shift between plans? How much notice do you think you'll be able to give to parents? And I know the answer will probably be as much notice as possible, but in the event of a spike in cases and it needs to be quick, I totally understand that, but it would be great if parents could be kept in the loop, either on a weekly basis or on a regular basis, about what the thought process is and what the thinking is. So we have as much advance notice about a shift in plan as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So can I just jump in with a suggestion to that? I don't know in what form it would be at, but perhaps maybe one of the ways we can keep parents updated is through Dr. Malone's weekly email that she sends out. I mean, I don't even know what that would look like, but it could be a vehicle for current, Air and Shirley caseloads, or, what the data is saying at the time. That might be a way we can pass that information along to families, is through that already existing method of communication.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a great starting point for the communication. Maybe even something on a Friday or over the weekend that, yep, we're planning to come in this week, be ready, or we need to, and I'm gonna say it, and I don't like to pivot, that we're gonna pivot this week or in the second half of the week or something. So yeah, I think between Blackboard and obviously we have the reverse phone calls that we do with snow days anyhow. So I think we have those things. It's just sort of defining the severity of the change we need to make.
Thank you, and I certainly will keep families informed. I know the metrics are being published weekly, and we will closely monitor the metrics, and I will keep school committee informed as well as parents. And as far as a shift, so for example, if at the October 6th meeting, there was a decision to move to the full day model of this plan right now, so that students that are in for half day, we would make sure we give parents enough notice to make that shift. Or if we had to go to full remote, that could happen in a moment's notice, depending on what the health metrics do, and if there's a surge and such. There's many that are talking about when flu season hits in October, and so certainly if we could have to go to remote, full remote, with not a lot of advance notice, but certainly we'll do our best to keep our families informed.
Thank you, everyone. The next participant that would like to speak is Mr. Eric Lopez. Hello, Mr. Lopez. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
Oh, quite all right. We can hear you just fine.
All right, Eric Lopez, Hickory Way in Air. So, part of the dilemma I think a lot of us going through is the balance of managing the social aspects and the in-person contact, with our students, with the teachers, and the peers. The other thing is the consistency of being on a consistent regimen. Going in for a half day, taking then 3 days on a different type of schedule may not work for a lot of the students, especially when like in my household, I have one child in every school. So it's kind of hard to keep pace with that. To make the decision of whether to go to school or do the full remote is kind of hard when we really don't know what we're comparing against, like who's teaching it with respect to the third party, what standards are they teaching by, and how closely does it align to what the hybrid, in-class and remote is, so that there's parity between the systems so that we can make a decision as a parent for any of the three. So that's one part of it. So I don't know when we can. My one question is, how do we push out that part to parents of what these things consist of? And the second one is, if there's an illness at school when we have kids at their going there, how does that get reported and still meeting HIPAA, right? Like, someone goes in and has sniffles. Do we have a big panic attack of type of someone is ill and we don't know what it is? Does everyone have to be tested now? Is my other concern. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
If I could just, Dr. Malone again, to the school committee, if I just may address that. There is a very detailed plan about handling that within our school. And we do have our nurse leader, Renee Payne. If Renee, do you want to just provide the response of the plan? One of the, in the plan, it does say we, do not send your child to school if ill, and certainly we do not want any employees to come to school if they are ill. But in the case of allergies, I mean, there's things that are documented about students, and that the nurses, we have excellent nurses in all 4 schools, and we have an excellent nurse leader. And certainly they will be on top of this, and they know students who have allergies, and they know, the medical conditions of students. Renee Payne.
Hi.
Thank you.
I am here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Renee.
Okay. So we do have a detailed plan if somebody gets sick, and I can answer that. It's just, it is a little complicated. If it's one individual student, we have a plan. They go to an isolation room that we have. They're designed in all the buildings. That student would not go home on the bus. He or she would remain masked, 6 feet apart, and we would call for a parent, and we would have them go and be tested. If it's if they come down and they're not feeling well that day, the rest of the desk is cleaned, but the rest of the kids in the class remain in the class. We don't send them home because there was one in particular child who had come down sick that day. That changes if a few days later, that child who we sent out comes back positive for COVID. At that time, that classroom would be notified. We do contact the Board of Health immediately. We are in talks with them quite frequently, but if this were to be a case, their results do go to the Board of Health, and it is something that we are able to discuss with them.
Thank you.
Answer that, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the part of the health as far as the comparison between third party and the remote hybrid. Is there any literature about that to be pushed anytime soon?
I'm sorry, I missed that. The literature on what part?
I actually think that's a question for Dr. Malone.
Okay.
It has to do. That's okay. It has to do with the remote piece. So if I understand your question, are you asking if the remote, because the remote portion is taught by our staff, it wouldn't be the third party. Are you asking if a third party is still available if you desire that?
Yeah, so what is the third party and how does it align with the remote hybrid that Air Shirley is doing, right? It's hard to decide on one when we don't know what the other is. I obviously want to do something that keeps pace with everyone else. I don't want to try something, come back and find that my kids are, 3-4 weeks behind or ahead. I don't know, ahead would be nice, I guess, but falling behind is a big thing. As a former military person, I have to deal with this every time I move and how to get my kids caught up. And I think when we have 2 different education systems going on with the same, district, that causes a problem.
Sure. So Dr. Malone, can you address that?
Sure, thank you. So with this plan that's being proposed, the remote learning portion would be taught by our educators. So we're not, we may, you know, at the high school, we have this, there are two learning management systems that the state provided to us, Edgenuity and the Florida virtual system. And at this time, we wouldn't be using them. We would be using our in-district program because we feel it would be more robust. And certainly we prefer that our teachers are in the remote portion with the students. The high school, we may use Edgenuity for some singleton, what we call singleton courses, depending on what the student needs to take for a course. And, you know, the high school, the administration would be addressing this. But right now we do use Edgenuity at the high school for certain students. So that's where we're thinking right now, or that's what I shouldn't say that's what we're thinking. That is what the plan is.
Thank you. And while Renee is still here, there is a question about a child testing positive, and if you could go into what the Neshoba Board of Health will be doing.
Sure. I'm just trying to find the question. If a child tests positive for COVID, is that the question?
Yes.
You let the whole class know. However, what about the kids on the same bus? So yes, we have different cohorts. That was one of the questions that had come up at another meeting. And we do, so the classroom would be one cohort, a bus is another cohort, and extracurricular activities is considered another cohort. So if a child does test positive, we are looking at all three of those. Does the child participate in sports? Does he ride the bus, he or she, in the classroom? So yes, we would be addressing the bus. How will kids with seasonal allergies be handled? So one of the things that has been released by the CDC is a guideline for what symptoms
Did anyone
to
hear my
test.
question? Did anyone hear my question?
No.
Oh, Joe, we didn't.
I asked, so the teacher in the room then goes into another class. So the kid has COVID and the teacher is in the class, and then the teacher goes into another classroom. So was that classroom also informed?
Well, see, this is where it sounds like a teacher is going to leave one classroom and go to another classroom, which they may do. But you're not going to know that day whether a child tests positive for COVID when they're sent down to the nurse feeling ill. You will probably know 24 to 48 hours. So yes, at that time, we would have to backtrack. It goes back 2 days. So yes, we would have to do that. And I think that's why we're trying to keep teachers in their classrooms as much as possible in cohorts for that reason.
Well, at some point, the teacher teaches different classes, so he or she would be with different classes, whether they move or the teacher moves. So that would be inevitable that there would be other classes that teacher would be in contact with.
That's correct. They would move around.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. I think I'm so glad that you were here to delve into some of those questions, because everybody needs to feel that things are moving forward. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else, Mr. Tebow?
No, there is no one else wishing to speak. However, we do have a high school teacher, Mr. Peter Grubellini, who would very much like to thank Dr. Malone and yourselves, the school committee, for all the hard work you put into this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
You're muted, Joyce.
There you go.
There you go.
so I think we might try again to close the public participation. Anybody on the committee feel that we shouldn't?
Nope.
Okay. So then we would move on to item number 9, school committee votes on the school reopening plan. The way this would work is that if you wish to make a motion and it's seconded, it puts it on the floor for discussion. Don't everybody speak at once.
Can we have discussion without a motion on the table?
Well,
I would prefer that.
if you would like to have 5 minutes of discussion or 10 minutes of discussion, I would limit it with a time limit.
I'd prefer to have a
What would be the
discussion
consensus of the committee on that?
Yeah, I would prefer to have a discussion before we have a motion.
Yes.
Okay. So then if we open the floor to discussion to the committee?
Right. Yeah, we all probably want to speak. You want to put us in order?
Joe, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Jonathan.
He just wants us to go in order. That's all. That's all he's asking. Right. Just start in order.
So we have our 2 minutes or something. So we go and we just have an order instead of us trying to jump in. Do you want to go alphabetically?
I think that puts Jonathan up first.
Wow, no pressure there.
You asked for it.
No, that's cool. No, so first, obviously, thank you to everyone who's worked on this. That's the key thing, right? There's hours and hours of work here for plans that may never even see the light of day. But I think as a committee, we have heard, at least from my perspective, I've heard a lot of, full hybrid is, or a full day hybrid is something that if we don't start it, we need to set a goal of getting there. I would prefer, I would like to say that, we will evaluate at that October 2nd meeting, and I'd like to establish what that time frame would be, certainly with Dr. Malone's input, for if it's working well and we're staying within good metrics, that push to full day. Full day hybrid model. I think that's what I've heard a lot of parents say that they would prefer. So that's just my 2 cents. Otherwise, I am in support of the hybrid model. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jonathan. Michelle?
I wish I had my maiden name.
You could pass. We could come back to you if it's really difficult.
No, I want to thank everyone that worked on the return to school board. I also want to thank Dr. Malone and Mr. Cleary. This is a huge undertaking, and I appreciate your responsiveness. You're listening to feedback, and you're adapting the plan to try to get it to as much of a palatable plan for everyone. Personally, for me, this is an extremely difficult decision. I've joked that I've made personal life decisions that didn't cause me the same angst that this decision is causing me. So, I do want to say that that this is really tough for me. I want to support everyone. I want to support all the stakeholders. But at some point, we do need to get our kids back in a building. This plan, to me, allows us to do that in a safe way, slowly, to get the kids comfortable with the building, get the staff comfortable with the kids in the building, not serve lunch initially, so we're not worrying about that. And then when we feel comfortable and we see the metrics staying the same or getting better, we move to a full day model. So I guess I would also echo my support for this plan as it is. I worry when Mr. Tully mentioned the slower phase in, I worry about what look like as we get closer to cold and flu season, or if there's going to be spikes, a second round, a second wave that people have predicted. So I worry about whether we might need to to pivot to a remote model. And so I would prefer to do things now while we have good numbers. We know things are good, and our weather is good, so our kids can get outside. I just think that all those factors just allow for, the optimal to open. Obviously, we're watching. This is a decision we're making as of today, and the condition of the COVID situation as of today, we'll constantly, be looking at that and seeing if things change. So that's my take on it. Thanks.
Mr. Quinty?
Are we going alphabetically?
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I went to very poor schools. I apologize. Mr. Leone?
Thank you. First of all, I cannot say enough how much I appreciate the work that Dr. Malone and the committee has done. I often think, how are you still standing up, Dr. Malone, with what you've been going through? That said, I want to start my statement with, we haven't come this far to only come this far. The reason why our numbers are down in our community is because we've done our due diligence. We've done what we had to. We closed our schools just like everyone else did, and we maintained that diligence. So I think our hybrid plan is a decent hybrid plan. I think that live streaming would make it even better, but I don't think that any hybrid plan is a good plan. The reason for getting kids back to school for socialization, 10-room, 10-person classroom, maybe not with their friends. They're not going to see their friends. They're not having lunch with their friends. They're not socializing with their friends. They're not having the same kind of interaction with their teachers. I believe that the only safe way to get our kids back to school at this point in time, to get as best an education as they can, is to be a fully remote program. And once we get to the metric, which I believe is a vaccine, but obviously there are different metrics for that, we can go back full. So my feeling is that the hybrid model, we can transition that way if that's what all the metrics say to do. But I believe the best way to just go back full, because hybrid will not be the kind of experience that our kids and parents will be looking for. And the last thing is that remote will not be what it was in the spring. There will be much more robust learning going on during the remote teaching. Thank you.
LQ. Mr. Quinty?
Unmute.
You're muted, Jim.
How's that?
Much better. Thank you.
All right. Oh, I'm an engineer. I kind of, this is where I would prefer to be an oligarch probably. When I take a look at the numbers around, I think the communities in Aaron Shirley have done a superior job getting their hands around this. Everybody has adjusted their behaviors, and we're seeing into the numbers. When I went onto the state website, if you take a look around us, in the last 2 weeks, new cases, Air 4, Shirley 1, Bolton 1, Littleton 3, Townsend 2, Groton 0, Harvard 0, Stowe 1, Ashby 0, Ashburnham 2, Westminster 0, Baldwinville, Berniston 0. People in this part of the state, people are looking at state metrics. I'm looking at northern Middlesex County, and people here have done the work, you know, and safety is kind of an artificial construct. We can't play loose with it, but we have to play smart. I think with 3-foot spacing, we could go back full, but clearly after looking at the results of the surveys and hearing the discussion, I know the votes clearly are not here for going back full time. I understand that. So I think we have to absolutely have to start with someone in the building. The half-day format that we're looking at here does allow contact between the teacher and the student. And the one thing I do like about it is that you get the student in the morning in person, and in the afternoon they get to carry through, so you get some sort of continuity with the teacher itself. And I think that part of it is important. I would be fine if they went to just 2 full days. I think half days, I understand how difficult that's going to be for all the parents trying to work that schedule out. And I'm hoping that if things go well over the first couple of weeks, that we'll be able to move to full days. The teachers, this is going to be kind of splintered, but the teachers working from home on Wednesdays, I would consider that a decision of the superintendent. That's a day-to-day thing that wouldn't involve me. And if the 10 days of PD go well, that they're planning to have before we open the schools and things work well, then I don't see why that wouldn't be possible, but we'll wait and see how that works out. We have to think, I'm most concerned with the mental health and socialization. You have to think more like an adult. I mean, we and adults at large are comfortable studying at home. We've all done our college all-nighters by ourselves. Kids want to be around. Not every kid is going to be as motivated, especially in the early grades. And just to be able to get them out of their house and into the schools means a great deal to me. We clearly have some work to do on whether it's going to be policy-wise or in the student handbook over what masks are going to be allowed. That's going to happen before we open the schools. And I think I would press regardless of how we open, that I believe the athletic camps should all open right after Labor Day. I think it's all outside work. I think with the numbers in northern Middlesex County, it's certainly safe. I don't know what MIAA is going to do, but I think we should be out there training. And if our athletic director has to schedule a couple of friendlies to keep kids moving and engaged, I'm all for that. Any other clubs that can meet after school, I would certainly be in favor of that. Whatever decision we come here tonight, when we finally close off, everyone's going to feel like they got punched in the stomach. But when we finally leave, for us to move forward to a full day, full-time program, we are going to have to maintain as the two communities of Aaron Shirley, the discipline that we have already shown. There's no COVID generator in the school. The school is a predator, is a spreader. But if we keep doing what we've been able to do since April and May, it will certainly accelerate our decision to move forward to full-time in person. Thank you.
Ms. Simmons?
I think I feel like I've been punched in the stomach every day for the past week. So I agree with Ms. Granger that this has probably been the most difficult process. And I really thank Dr. Malone and the rest of the administration that's been working on this. This has not been easy. I think we can all say we're in agreement about some things. We miss kids being in school. I am an educator myself. So I wear a couple of different hats. I'm also a parent. We all want kids to be in school. As parents, we want to send our kids to school. We miss the excitement of the beginning of school. Nothing about this feels good. What I know through this process is that people are really afraid of the unknown, and what's logical in that fear can change from one moment to the next. We have all felt it ourselves going through this, and certainly all the parents and the staff do. My husband often uses this phrase. He says perception is king. So if you perceive that you are at risk, then you're at risk because your perception is what rules. What I also know is that people have really sacrificed in a lot of ways that are immeasurable. This is especially true for the social emotional health of our community, our neighborhoods, and certainly within our own families. I also know that people's understanding of the pandemic and their own personal circumstances around that vary widely. What one prioritizes is different from what another prioritizes, and neither is right and neither is wrong. That's what makes this so difficult, because we as a committee choose, if we choose one option, it feels really disrespectful to another option or even an attack on that option. And we know that there are real people behind all of the decisions that we make. So, you know, we look at safety and also trying to meet the needs of a diverse population. We're going to have to make adjustments to this plan. We have to follow safety protocols, COVID safety protocols, based on live numbers, based on recommendations from the CDC, from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the American Pediatric Association, and certainly from our regional Board of Health, while addressing the needs of kids with no perfect solution. I have been back and forth on this and everywhere in between. We know that whatever decision we make is not final and can move in various directions at any time. I can almost assure you that this is not over. We need to review, discuss, revise plans on a regular basis. And when I say I've gone back and forth, I have gone back and forth and have been up very late at night texting and leaning on some of the folks that are right here in front of me on the Zoom. What's really hard for me about purely remote is that that lack of in-person connection really hurts low-income kids, minority children, kids with disabilities, and it really continues to widen that gap between the haves and the have-nots. And that's because of what I do for my career. Those kids are who I focus on. So that's what makes it really difficult. We all, like I said, we all want kids to be back in school. I think this sort of slow approach to doing that and really looking at how it actually works in the moment, and then being able to reconvene and talk about how, what is working and what is not working, what is needed, and how to make adjustments is going to be needed. We obviously are going to be meeting a lot and having these discussions often. I just want to close by saying that this is a challenge unlike any of us have ever seen, both professionally and for families. And I do want to say that that I have empathy for everyone involved. This is tough. There is no good choice, no perfect choice. And we're just going to have to try to work together to do the best we can. with what we have and moving forward. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anybody wish to add anything? Seeing no one. I think what all of us are feeling is that this is a time of our life that we never anticipated. I always said that what makes your brain rot is worrying about your kids. It kind of goes to the base of the brain and you can't think of anything else. And yet we have other things to consider: health, the economy, elections, all kinds of stuff. And we never expected to have all these at once. But we do. And I think that we have to think that this is a fluid situation. Just because we have to let the Department of Education give some kind of plan, that doesn't mean that plan isn't going to evolve and change. And we can have, the committee will have meetings, it looks like just from now, maybe once a week, and there's always a possibility of emergency meetings, and there is a procedure for that. So at that, I would entertain any motions that anyone wants to make, to put them open for discussion on the floor. I need a motion and a second, please.
So I guess I'll make a motion here in a second. I just did want to respond to that every week meeting. I'm okay personally with doing that, at least for the first, 2 to 6 weeks, just to understand what's working, what's not, what we might be able to do to help administration and teachers. Obviously from our capacity, it's sort of limited, right? We're not the ones in the schools, but at the same point, whatever we can do is I think we need to do that. I think it's sort of our responsibility to hear what's going on, again, every week at least to start. So that was just my comment, but I guess with that, I will make a motion that we accept Dr. Malone's hybrid plan as presented this evening. Start the school days, school with a hybrid plan of including half days, with the intent to move to full days. I'll just end it at that, with the intent to move to full day hybrid.
Is there a second? Michelle, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. On the floor is a motion. Jonathan, would you just repeat that more concisely, please, so that everyone...
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we accept Dr. Malone's recommendation of starting the school year with the hybrid half-day plan, with the intent to move to full-day hybrid in the future.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I guess the only other...
I have one choice.
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I don't know. Whoop, can I go? I'd rather not go backwards, and that's another point that I wanted to make. Starting hybrid, things change. If we look around the country, people who have started in school, there are increased cases of COVID going on. Starting hybrid, having to go backwards to remote, I think will be more detrimental. I think if we start remote and work our way towards going hybrid, and eventually, hopefully, fully in, I think is a much better plan.
Joe, I just want to, I appreciate, Joe, your perspective. I guess my concern is kind of the opposite, and I think I said that when I spoke earlier, but I think for us, knowing what we know right now, we know our case counts, we know how low it is, we know that the weather's going to be good. I worry about starting remote with the hope to come back when we don't know what 2 months is going to be, especially where we're starting a school year with kids that don't know their teachers, being able to have that face-to-face meet their teacher before they do have to switch to a remote model. At least they've had that relationship building time so that they can have a face-to-face and they're not just starting a school year with a new teacher on a remote platform. So I completely hear what you're saying and I understand what you're saying. But I feel like knowing what we know now and knowing the circumstances as they exist and knowing that they're good, you know, that's kind of why I lean towards the other model.
And I find that interesting because it's the data. I agree with the data and your assessment. I just come to a different conclusion. And you know, and I certainly respect yours. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing that needs to be stressed is that we're all on the same side. We all want the same things. We all want to get our kids back to school. We know there's no one size fits all approach to this. And unfortunately, we have to make these really difficult decisions that not everyone is going to be happy with, but we're trying our best and that's all we can do. And we have to respectfully disagree sometimes, even though that's very difficult for me. So I certainly appreciate your perspective.
May I say a few more things?
Comment, please. It's on the floor for discussion.
I agree with both. I agree with everyone. That's what makes this so hard. Because when you look at one issue, the decision is easy, but there's so many things to consider. In a perfect world, every kid would be completely engaged and committed and all of that remotely if we had this strong program. But my experience is without the relationship piece, that doesn't work. And that's, I just have a different perspective. And so, you know, with all these other safety protocols and keeping the numbers low, trying to create some of those moments of developing relationships in a time when we can have kids outside with teachers and, you know, much smaller numbers, because I really feel like we're going to end up going remote anyway. When cold and flu season hits, I don't know how the state is going to manage all of this. So I'm kind of leaning towards Michelle on this one, is that if we don't grab that moment now, we might lose it. And that's why I'm leaning more towards the starting this sort of shortened hybrid program.
Anyone else wish to comment or question or and you can repeat again, please, if this is the important motion and we shouldn't let it lie.
Right. Joyce, I just wanted to say, I know that we're going to vote on what we have to submit to Jesse tomorrow. All right. And I know that we're going to have a number of meetings before school starts, but I think at this point, when we have this vote, that whatever format that we're electing here is how we're going to start school. So I would feel, unless, of course, the metrics change with regard to infection rates in the area, that's the wild card. But I'm saying it's like the half day versus the full day program, all that sort of stuff. I would think that as we vote tonight, that will close it to allow the families to plan for what the start of their school year would look. They'll have a month to try to set things up. Even if there was some movement to move to full day before, I think at this point, as we vote tonight, we would say, look, we're going to vote on this tonight, and this is how we're going to start the school year. We're going to evaluate how it goes, and the earliest anything would change would be October 6th. That's how I read tonight's vote. How do you feel about that?
How does everybody, what is everybody's comment on Jim's comment?
I would agree, except I wouldn't put the earliest it would change is October 6th, just because there could be something. Like we know Labor Day is happening 10 days before school is supposed to open. So I wouldn't say it could change at I agree with everything except putting a date that the earliest it could change is, October 6th. That's all.
I would agree with that. There needs to be constant monitoring of what's going on, constant.
So if I understand, no one, that would maybe be a separate motion, or that would be an add-on to the motion, and so that would be a secondary thing. We could vote on that first, if that is seconded.
I don't think my intent is that it's just a general understanding I have that barring some great increase in infection rate that would cause us to do something different, we're not going to change the roadmap for the start of school. If the infection rate changes, then everything's off the board. But we're at exceedingly low rates now, and unless there was a great increase in that, we wouldn't be changing what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think too, it speaks to the point that we as a committee need to set an expectation that we are at least checking in every week to you know, Dr. Malone, to just apprise us what's going on. It might be 30 minutes, and I'm sorry, Dr. Malone, that I'm taking another 30 minutes out of your day during these busy times. But I think that's just, you know, so we can plan so that we're not trying to go too long without being updated. So that's all.
I would also just say to that, Jonathan, for convenience sake, that if we are going to do those check-ins, we might want to continue to do them via Zoom, just as a quick check-in, and the convenience that Dr. Malone and other administrators, if we need to do them at night, could be at home to do that and wouldn't have to have an in-person meeting. Our other school committee meetings, if we're moving to an in-person model, of course, that's a different story. But these meetings that we're designing just for check-ins, I would suggest maybe we do it by Zoom for convenience.
Well, and I think we're getting such a good participation by Zoom. We've never had anything like this before. We've never had this much feeling before on anything that we've ever done. And Zoom allows people to be in on it. So I know our next meeting on August 19th is set up for Zoom already. And we can make a decision from there as to what we think we need to do. Originally, we had said we were going to be in person beginning of August. Well, that didn't happen. But that was a couple of months ago too, when we considered that. Anybody else? So the motion on the floor, and it's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion or questions? And do we want to make Jim's, do we want, Jonathan, do you want to incorporate Jim's suggestion of October? I'm sorry, I just lost the date, went out of my head.
No, I don't want to have any dates in the motion.
Okay.
I just want to set the expectation with the committee that this is what we're going to do. I don't think it needs to be formally part of the motion because it doesn't have anything to do with the plan. I think it's just important that we set expectations here and that we set with our audience that yes, we are going to meet every week for a check-in. And again, it can be 30 minutes or it can be 3 hours, whatever it needs to be, but we need to be able to, dare I say, pivot very quickly. And I don't want to go 2 weeks. I feel like 2 weeks is too long. I mean, I know we can schedule emergency meetings, but I think a week is appropriate right now.
And I would like to
understand what you just said, that you think that we should be meeting every week.
Yes.
So that we keep totally updated and ready to go.
And I
Yes,
would like to
yes.
add that if our kids are back at school and our teachers are back at school, then our meetings should be live in person.
Yes.
We should certainly be walking the walk. If we're saying safe for our kids to be back at school, then we should certainly be meeting in person.
Agreed.
I think that's
absolutely.
I think that's an agreement. I think everybody is a little restrained by these Zoom meetings. They really can be difficult. and being in person is what we need to do. But we can cross that bridge, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the motion that's on the floor. So if I hear any changes or additions to the motion, then, and we can do some of those again and later also, I would ask for a vote. So Michelle Town, if you would call the roll, please, and I would restrain from voting as the chair.
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
No.
Mr. Quinty,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons,
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots.
I would
No.
refrain from voting as the chair.
Okay.
And I would thank everybody for everything that they've worried about and agonized over, as we all have. And this is an ongoing world that we live in. So we will turn that decision into the state tomorrow by the deadline. And our next meeting is going to be Wednesday the 19th. Is there any other topics that need to come before discussion?
Hi, can I just jump in? Sorry, Joyce. I just
Please.
noticed this in the chat, and hopefully maybe we can take this offline, but for these future meetings, can we continue to look at putting them on Zoom in this webinar format? It seemed to work well.
We can always live stream them. Is that right, Mr. Tebow?
Yeah, that's correct. We've actually thought about that already, getting the equipment to live stream that in the LGI.
Good, good. So there's silk linings in this. Super clean schools with great air conditioning, air quality, and all kinds of wonderful stuff. They're going to come out of this, but it would be painful in the meantime. Is there any other topics to come before the discussion not reasonably anticipated in 48 hours? And are there any communications for the committee tonight?
Okay.
Michelle, you're looking like you want to say something. You're
Oh,
muted.
you're on mute.
Sorry. Should just leave it unmuted. But I just was wondering if maybe Dr. Malone could speak to what the next steps will be as far as our school community and how notification will go out, what the process will be for parents to decide whether they're going to opt for the hybrid or a remote option, just because we do have some a significant amount of people that are here that maybe that will be helpful. I know you did announce a Zoom meeting with parents, but if you could just elaborate.
Sure, thank you.
Are you prepared to do that, Dr. Malone? Or?
I can give a brief overview. So the blueprint that I mentioned, I'll be uploading to the Department of Education, and we will get it out to the public tomorrow probably. And so I'd like the faculty and the parents to review it before our meetings on Monday. And early next week, the first step will be to ask parents to commit to either the hybrid model or the remote model. And so we'll be sending out, it would be a survey or a form, I would say a form, to indicate to that, so then we can look at the number of students that will be attending versus the number of students that are going to be in the remote program. And once we have that information and the principals can do their own analysis for their buildings, and then at some point, I know parents are anxious to hear what cohorts their students are in, and that will be, I will talk to the principals and their timeline for managing that information and getting out to parents. But you know, I'm always available by email. I will be the first to, I have not been getting back to emails, and, you know, the discussion board, hopefully a lot of the questions were answered here. We've just been really, you know, working on trying to get a plan that would meet the needs, and the feedback has been very challenging. And I appreciate all the parents that participated tonight, and guardians and comments in the public participation. And thank you to the school committee. I know that, you know, it's been this is tough. This is really hard. It's been hard since March 13th. And I hope that another pandemic is not around for another 100 years, because those that have to live through it, personally and professionally, it certainly has had its challenges. But as I stated at the beginning of the meeting, looking at different ways of teaching and different models, I think it gives us pause to think about how we reinvent education and how we innovate and create in Ear Shirley, and what are the ideas of the teachers and meeting the needs of the teachers. I think it might be an opportunity, to change maybe. Mr. Leone mentioned live streaming, teachers teaching remotely. There are teachers that love it, and kids love it. And I think if we get to offer students more variation models, I think we'll strengthen our school system. So thank you. I hope that answers the questions. I know it's not that specific, but I have a plan, and we'll be communicating such. And I just wanted to give the parents an opportunity, a lot of these questions that are in the chat, for the team here in the district to answer those questions and respond to parents, this way rather than through emails or on discussion boards. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Malone. Anything else to come before the committee tonight?
Joyce, just as a matter of housekeeping, you should probably announce that the motion did pass there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you're quite right, Jonathan. Excuse me. I was just carrying forward, I guess. The motion did pass by a majority. Thank you, everyone, for all your commitment, and knowing that as the school committee, our first concern are the kids and the students and their safety and welfare. And I think everyone has done due diligence and tried to arrive at the best they could. So thank you all for all your work. And is there anything else that someone would like to bring up that was very good thing to add, Michelle? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please, Ms. Town?
Mr. DeForge?
Just as clarification, that was at 9:44. Yes, I
didn't want to say anything because my watch is wrong.
Yay.
Mrs. Granger?
Actually, it's 43.
Aye.
Mr. Leone?
Aye.
Mr. Quinty?
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 9:43.